Stand by.
The
Ready?
man has to go.
Okay, here we go.
Welcome to Recovery Talk Live, an ongoing open discussion about psychological, emotional, and spiritual recovery. Our mission is to deliver the message that those who are suffering with emotional trauma can recover. And now, here are your hosts, Dawn and Terry.
And welcome to Recovery Talk Live. I'm Dawn Maxwell here with my co-host,
Terry Liddell.
And we are addiction specialists, drug and alcohol counselors, here to tell you that we are in an effort to destigmatize recovery and say that everybody's hurting and everybody needs help. And today, Terry, we're going somewhere that you don't like to go, Terry. We're visiting the seas of womanhood. Are you prepared?
Sure.
Oh, you look so scared.
Absolutely.
We've done so many shows where, by the way, you please visit us at recoverytalklive.com. That's recoverytalklive.com. And please give us your questions and comments. And you are listening to us on KFNX today. And we've done a lot of shows, and it's always male-focused. It feels very male-focused. We did a show on sex addiction where we had a really...
we've had one... You're right.
We've
had one woman... So far.
This has all been a male-dominated thing. So I'm bringing in the other species today. Yes, we have an expert. And where we did a very, uncomfortable show for me on sex addiction and what it looked like for the man. But today we're going to give voice to the women who are married to men who are in sexual addiction. And someone asked me this week, well, you're doing a show on sexual addiction. What is it? Can you answer that for our listeners?
Well, sexual addiction is pretty much that you're addicted. We go back to the same place, to a feeling that I'm going to go get my feelings fixed, cured, increased, validated, whatever, through whatever process. And sex just happens to be one of those. And it's pretty devastating to the women, because I've actually read this.
You have.
I know. So it's like I've actually read that women...
Maybe studied it in school a little.
Stuff like that,
yeah.
And then working in the industry for 22 years, I've got
Could have picked up
a little bit on
possibly.
it. So the process is, I think this is a good show. I think this is a good idea, because when Dave Zeiler was here on the other side with the men...
Our sex addict expert, author, friend.
And the things that he was explaining was from the male side. So this could be a good show. This could be kind of fun to see what the other side, if you will, the female side, says about what happens to them in this process. And here's a question for you, though.
Okay. And then I have a statement. Make your question here on recoverytalklive.com.
Can women be sex addicted?
Oh, yeah. And, the recent statistics, I was just talking to our friend Randy Moriitis over at the Crossing Church. Did I say his last name right?
No, you weren't even
close. Best guy, but just love him to death. He has a faith-based recovery program in Southern California. He was telling me the recent statistics are 50-50, that women are equally sex addicted as men. But as interesting as that is, I'm going to keep driving us back to what happens, because women who are married to or in a relationship with a man with sexual addiction, and I know people like this, people probably listening who don't even realize they're married to a sex addict, pornography, meaning if your spouse is
issue.
male
huge
or female,
issue.
but we're focusing on the women today, although
well, it's interesting you bring that up, because
it goes both ways.
Pornography is considered a male issue, but what we're finding is that there's an awful lot of women who are doing pornography or watching pornography for the same reason differently. In other words, So I think it'd be interesting to talk about it.
It's good that we throw that out there, but we are going to focus on the trauma that happens to the woman. And also, before we have an expert today, Pamela Conti, and she's a life coach, and she works with women who have been in relationships with men who are sexually addicted. But what I have found is a lot of women don't know they're in those relationships. Their husbands, I know women out there, clients, people, friends in the universe, that, gosh, we haven't had sex in 2 months. And, he looks at some porn, but, it's not really a problem. So there's a lack of awareness that there's some, I'm having to do some things sexually that I'm not really comfortable with, and they don't realize that they're in a relationship with somebody who's sexually addicted.
You're just describing some signals here, if I'm catching where you're going with this.
But they're unaware, though. You and I are aware. Pamela's aware.
Okay, so
our guest is
all
aware.
right. So we can talk about maybe open up some of these doors so people can see what's going on.
And it goes, and I mean, I've talked to women where it goes far. I've met women that they're participating and acting out their husband's sexual fantasies, And
well, let me ask you. Okay, this is a loaded question. You ready?
All right.
All right, here we go.
Here on recoverytalklive.com, you're listening here with Dawn and Terry.
Is a sexual fantasy a bad thing?
If you're bringing in an outside person, if it's something that doesn't include your mate, yes.
Well, if I'm not asking you to climb into the bed, have a threesome or something else, if I just get a fantasy that I want to do something, is that a bad thing?
I believe, if there's anybody in your head outside of you and your partner, then you're not present with the person you're with. You're present in another place. If what you're doing intimately with your spouse,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in your mind, you're with somebody else, then you're not present with your spouse.
Ooh.
And it
Ooh,
creates
okay.
serious
All right.
damage.
All right. Now, here's another question.
I think there's even verses about this in the Bible somewhere. But it's
okay. Well, let me ask you
I'm just saying.
This is a good comment. Okay. So
all right. Here we're going.
Yeah. Let's see.
And
How would you know if I am either present with you or not?
I'm going to speak on this, Terry Liddell, here on Recovery Talk Live,
Okay.
live on KFNX. When you're with somebody intimately,
Mm-hmm.
you know if they're not with you. You can tell if they, and any woman or man out there, because this goes both ways, if you are in a physically intimate act with somebody, you can look at them and know if they are present in the moment with you.
You're saying two things that I find interesting, because you're
fascinating.
connecting. Yeah, well, it happens once in a while.
Yeah,
I know.
Blood moon, baby.
Here's the thing: if you are physically intimate,
Yes,
or are you physically involved? Now, to me, those are very different things.
it is.
Because intimacy and physical, I can have sex with you, and I'm not very intimate. I'm just having sex with
Right.
you.
And as a guy, you're done. And as a woman,
Yeah.
it's like, I loved you. Oh,
Yeah, and all the stuff that goes along with it.
yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
Wait, this is a good point, because it is a sexual release for man, and it's an emotional connection more for women. So
Okay.
that's something interesting. How about for today's topic?
Okay.
We'll reach an agreement here on
Okay.
Recovery Talk Live. Visit us at recoverytalklive.com and send us your questions and send us your comments, especially on this topic. Just so you know, if you do post on the Contact Us page, it is confidential, and Terry or myself, deeming who it's appropriate, will return your question privately. But let's just restrict it to marriage. Let's today talk about sexual addiction as it pertains to marriage, because it breaks up marriages. And I don't.
Yes, it does.
I think I have this. It's Pamela, our guest, may have it.
Okay.
The divorce statistic on this.
This is called a boundary?
It's a boundary, but let's not
so
talk about
boundaries-
casual sex today, because that's
Okay.
probably, I don't even know what's going on in people's head when that happens. But let's talk about.
Well, that's
it
a whole
within
other
the
ballgame. Yeah.
Well, there's a show on one-nighters, I'm sure, but this
Okay.
is not the show.
Well, we
Here on
may do that
Recovery
one.
Talk Live.
We may do that one. So.
Okay.
All right. So the idea is we're going to talk about what it means to have healthy relationship within the marriage.
Yes.
Okay. And that anything that's outside of that is going to be, in quotes, fair game for us to discuss, because it's breaking the bonds of the agreement that you have before God.
Well, okay, an interesting comment, and so interesting that you just said that, Mr. Terry Liddell,
Uh-oh.
a specialist, because I'm turning the table because you always talk to me like that.
Okay,
I'm just
here we
going to
go.
pull on that, because you're saying anything that happens within the boundaries of a marriage, you can have sexual acts within the boundary of the marriage and be outside the boundary of the marriage at the same time. It can happen. You can be alone in the room with your spouse and not be in the room, and it's a problem.
Okay, well, we're going to.
And it breaks down. This
is going to get serious here. I got a weird feeling.
It's when we talked to Zeiler when he was here, we talked about the low self-esteem of men. People just think men are just horny sex animals. Okay, that's what women say. But when let's just go clinical. When we're in school, we know that their self-esteem is low, and they're hurting when we get educated on that.
Right.
But we're gonna respect their woundedness, but we are going to bring in.
Okay, so we want two healthy people in the same room at the same time.
Well, ultimately, that would be the goal.
All right. So
unfortunately, the odds of that happening are decreasing.
Oh no! Okay.
Statistically, the divorce rates are going up. Pamela Conti, who's with us today, I don't want to take her stuff, but it's surprising the statistics that are happening.
We'll see what happens.
Well, we will, but we have to agree that we're talking
two
about
people
marriage
in the same room.
Okay, staying
what
present
causes,
with each other.
causes them to be either present or not present.
Yes, and when we wrap up, we're going to bring her back and talk about what that looks like, what it looks like for women, and visit us on Recovery Talk Live, and we will be back after the break. And you're listening to Dawn and Terry.
Okay, good. You see me trying to figure out how to count from 10 on the
I
fingers.
need the live show. This is killing me. I need my music. I need Sarah in my
I
ear.
know how to count down on my fingers.
We
Let's
usually
count
go
down.
live. This is like a different. We have our headphones and they're talking. Are you scared now? And welcome back to Recovery Talk. This is Dawn Maxwell with
Terry Liddell.
And today you can visit us at recoverytalklive.com. And today we're talking about sexual addiction as far as it looks in our situation, our world today, the one we've created today, Terry. We're talking about married people, the male being the sexual addict, living with a woman who, in recovery, we call them codependent women in relationships with sexually addicted men.
That's exactly.
And it's defined in the recovery world as COSA.
Okay.
So today we have a life coach with us, Pamela Conti and welcome, Pamela, for your bravery to coming to Recovery Talk today and speaking with us. And welcome.
Yes, thank you. Good to be here.
We just dragged people on here with us. And when we were going to the break, Terry and I were talking about what it looks like for a woman who is married to a sexually addicted man and what that life looks like. And I know outside of your coaching practice, you have some personal experience with that. Would you tell us what that is like? Would you like to share a little bit of your story with us?
Yes, I lived with a sexually addicted man for 23 years and know exactly what that's like. It's very lonely, unhappy, and dissatisfying.
So what did it look like to you on a daily basis? I know that there are some signs. Something that I was reading today, researching, that is not one of my areas of recovery, although I have many here on recoverytalklive.com. And maybe you can tell me if this is true. They say that women feel unloved. Sometimes they come from abusive parents, that they think sex is a sign of love. So what they do is they'll participate. Either they're not having sex with their husband or they'll participate in things they're not comfortable with in order not to lose their husband's love. Would you say that's true?
Yes, they do things that go against their values and how they feel and that voice inside that they're not listening to.
So what would you say are some signs that you can look for if you're a woman in a marriage? Let's just put you in a position. Let's put her in a position, Terry.
You're on your own here.
Let's put her, you're in a marriage, right? And then you walk in. I want you to just tell us what this looks like. I'm not saying you, maybe clients you've had, women you've worked with. And you walk in the bedroom and you find your husband looking at porn on the computer. How do you feel?
You feel like you just caught your husband with another woman.
Like it's real.
Like it's real.
Why do you feel that way?
Because he's having a sexual, intimate act with someone other than his wife.
So even though I'm going to use me for a second here. I'm just watching something on the computer or something like that. It's not personal. I don't know why you're so upset. Why do you take that and say it's an intimate relationship when I'm looking at it as just something else?
Because looking at pornography is lust, it's not love. And the sexual act in a marriage that we're talking about should be with your wife only in the bounds of marriage.
Do you not agree with that, Terry? There's too long of a hesitation.
Well, I think about a lot of things in this thing because the question is what's acceptable behind closed doors, if you will. What's acceptable?
Question.
What's acceptable needs to be worked out with both parties, if you will. So if that's not okay, then absolutely I agree with what you said. It feels like we're cheating on you. But,
well, here's the question, too. It would maybe depend on the couple. If it's not okay with the wife, then it shouldn't be okay with the husband. He should respect her in that regard.
So what about the husband who's saying, all right, you don't want me to view it in front of you, so I'm going to view it without you there? Don't you find that women are feeling, so what does it feel like for a woman who your husband is out there? He's looking at porn. He's having sexual fantasies. Terry and I were talking before the break here on recoverytalklive.com with Dawn and Terry about, you heard us in our first segment. Are you in agreement that you can be, or have you worked with women who are aware that they're in a sexual act with their spouse, but they know their spouse is not present with them?
Yes, that's true. And the women that I've talked to and work with do not want their husbands looking at pornography or the internet and doing any of that. without them at any level.
What about, women who are out there saying, well, they're just looking at porn, that's not sex addiction? What do you say to them? Because you know that their value, what is a woman feeling like, her value and her self-esteem?
Well, a woman who doesn't want her husband doing that, isn't okay with that, feels like a roommate a lot, feels unloved, feels like he's emotionally just checked out of the marriage and detached from her emotionally. That's how women feel.
This is just
That's how they feel.
Question I have. I've talked to women, and again, this isn't anything, I have so much, this isn't part of it. There's some marriages I've seen where there's just no sex going on, which isn't good. And then there's marriages where, in this case, we're focusing on the husband is asking the wife to do things she's uncomfortable with, but she's afraid of losing him, so she does it. Is one more prevalent than the other? Because I think they're just both equally bad.
Well, there's two kinds of wives in a sexual addictive behavior with a relationship with her husband. Either the woman participates with the fantasy and the pornography and whatever he comes up with, or she doesn't, and he doesn't include her in that. So it becomes a secret thing that he's doing. So there's only two kind of wives: the ones who participate with it and the ones who don't.
How are they feeling? And are they feeling the same inside? What is a wife
the
feeling?
women who participate with it are degraded. They do it to keep their marriage together. They feel that they need to do this. They become less or more of something. They need to be more provocative. They need to be progressive with their husband in this area. And usually it's going against every grain in their body and their voice, that voice telling them that this is wrong, because it's not feeling loved.
Because as a guy, if I want to experience all kinds of stuff, now, why to you? Because I'm not going out and doing it with somebody else. I'm just getting ideas off the internet, or I'm just watching something because I want to do whatever that is with you because you matter to me.
Well,
wait, what kind of side story is that? Okay, go
personally,
ahead,
because, no, I'm asking a question.
Yeah, no,
because,
okay.
Because as a guy, and part of this reason is that my first wife, I did this. She's telling you guys are talking about me in many ways. But part of that package is that I can say, well, I was only watching porn or whatever. Back then we didn't have a computer, so the guys used to have porn nights and we'd watch the movies and that kind of junk. So
guys had porn nights and
of course.
Porn
Are you
together?
Kidding me?
That seems very unromantic. Not that I've ever watched porn, but that's a little weird.
What do you think? All the shows on, who do you think?
I don't know, but why would men watch porn?
Because they
I don't
do.
even go to that place.
It doesn't matter.
recoverytalklive.com with Don and Terry.
It's like, why do women do it? It's like,
I don't even want to think about men watching porn together. It's bizarre. Let's go back to the women. Okay.
We'd have
the darkness of your mind.
Okay. You play.
I'm
you're
naive
playing
in this area. You know that.
All right, you got me in a corner here.
Okay,
I'm gonna get out.
Ba-boom,
You ready?
Okay, let's go.
Okay, here's my question. I go watch something on. I come back and say, "That was cool. Because you're my wife, let's do that."
And what if your wife says no?
Well, there's a good question then that jumps up is, if I love you and you love me, why does no ever come into the picture?
Ooh.
Well, there are bounds in it. That's what I'm saying. It's out of love and respect for each other. Sex isn't always about in the bounds of marriage of only about you. It's about your mate and both of you and your desire together. But if one person is not comfortable doing something, I don't feel like women should be forced to do sexual acts with their husband that they're not comfortable with. And if he loves her, he would respect her. And viewing pornography is watching an intimate sexual act or whatever sexual behavior they're doing is not also something that I think is good for a man to watch, because it's lust. It becomes lust, and then it makes a man dissatisfied with his wife. There's married sex, and then there's illicit sex. Sex going on. And when a man goes and watches this thing, it heightens up what he needs for normal sex with his wife. She's raising the kids, she's working maybe part-time, or she's a mom at home, and the man comes in with all these fancy things, and that makes the woman feel like she's not good enough. She has to do this to be loved by him or for him to desire her.
Self-esteem, tear down.
Okay. Well, walk with me here for just a little bit. If you are doing mom stuff, like you just said, which is hugely important, but when I come home, you've always got a headache. You're too tired. there's always excuses to put me off. Then we kind of you talk about self-esteem, or you talk about feeling separated and all the other stuff.
Okay.
So I'm wondering where that plays into the stuff. Now, I'm not telling you that I agree with pornography, because I don't. But what I'm saying is that there's other things that necessarily go along in here that might be, things that we need to look at. Because you said, I think, a very important thing. It's two people trying to figure out how to do this right. And that we should respect each other. We should care about each other. And so I think that part of that may be conversations that aren't taking place.
Yeah, and this is Dawn and Terry on recoverytalklive.com. We'll be going to break in a second, but I think when we go back to break, Pamela, I'd really like you to address, we're here with Pamela Conti Andrasic, life coach. She works with women who are in relationships with sexually addicted men. I think Terry makes a good point as far as the rejection from the tired mom, but I don't think it's an excuse to go out. I think maybe that's a counseling situation, but it's not a let's go have porn.
So. There's a lot more going on here, so I really like this topic. I think we're getting it.
It's under-addressed. Yeah. So you're listening to Dawn and Terry on recoverytalk.live. Give us your questions and comments. Recoverytalk.com. I'm sorry, this topic always gets to me. Join us after the break. This topic always gets to me. It's like the sex topic but aren't I better than last time? You're doing a good job.
Okay, and how did I do? Were you wanting me to say more? I only said a few things.
No, yeah, get a little more
that's
fiery.
The whole thing. Is that, yeah.
When you talk, I'm listening. I don't want to interrupt, or
But
anything.
you can stop him if he starts going on and speak for the
advice,
woman.
Pam, would be for the second segment.
You need to.
Don't hold back.
Don't be
polite.
No.
Oh, am I too? I'm just trying to be.
Yeah, you're being too
polite.
In this process, recognize a couple things. Number one is this topic's huge. I mean,
what? Yeah, do you have some water? Yeah, water would be good.
It's a huge. I mean, we're playing around stuff. The fact that
because we want to talk about hurting women too, because women are
that's
hurting.
what we want to talk about now.
Women are hurting because men are saying, "Hey, honey, let's do this." Like I had this in my own marriage.
We need. This
I had in my own marriage. My husband would buy me things to put on and wear, and he said, "Let's."
This is what you need.
He was like, "Let's pretend," blah blah blah, and I remember thinking, well, why would I pretend like you just met me, or why would I pretend like we just met in a bar? I'm thinking that's degrading to me. That's dishonoring to me.
But this is what you need to do.
That is complete. Yes, it is. But that's your opinion.
Yes,
right, but
exactly.
This is what you guys need to do on the air.
Exactly, and that's what you need to bring.
Now, can I do that on the air?
Absolutely.
But that's rude.
No, it's not.
You were really quiet. Do you see how we?
But you said to be professional.
Well, the professional.
She told you that?
I'm being my professional.
Be unprofessional.
Coaching,
Be unprofessional.
No.
Oh, really? So I could do what I just said?
What we want is the woman you're being.
Because I'm like being,
No.
I'm not being discriminating. I'm just, because that's your opinion.
Yeah, and see that, but it is my opinion. But I want you to understand, as a man.
But that's not the truth.
Right.
No.
Always
true.
Back up. Your opinion is
He's
not
always
true.
right.
But your opinion isn't the truth either.
I know.
So here's what I want you to get is.
Well,
but my opinion is my perspective.
I walk in. Have you watched the commercials and there's several commercials about a man and a woman, and they meet in a bar, or they see each other across the bar, and then they end up in bed with the kids and all the other stuff because they're married.
Yeah, I saw that one commercial, but they were married.
That's the point. Now, you said, why would a guy do that? Why would he want to play that I just met you? Because as a guy, that's a great compliment.
Okay, but you guys got to do this.
Yeah, but that's coming from a guy who looks at porn.
Okay,
and that's coming from a guy.
You ask a question. You can't put two and two together.
Oh, I can't. Can I say porn?
Yes,
I'm saying porn. I'm saying we're having sex.
But see, here's the thing. We all have our perspective. We all have our life. We all have our ideas. But I've lived with that and see, this is where I want to bring in the Christian thing too, because in a Christian marriage, can I say that?
Yes.
In a Christian marriage, it's defined.
Yes.
See, in the secular world, it's not defined. Anything goes, whatever feels good, do it. In the Christian marriage, there's rules, there's principles that we follow. And so that's why I can define it more simply than having this huge discussion about, is that okay? But why isn't it okay? When you bring in the God element.
The audiences you're talking to, we don't know who they are.
I know. So what I want to say is it's not okay. It's okay.
My preference.
So in a faith-based world, it's defined as it's not okay. And every pastor will tell you it's not okay to look at porn with your wife. It's not okay. You're bringing that element of, I believe, and I wanted to say this, but I didn't know if I could say it on the air.
Yes, you can. You want.
I wanted to say, and I believe this with all my heart, that God did not design married people or anyone to watch other people have sex.
See, that's a great statement.
But we gotta you bring this,
and that's
bring
and that I
this.
felt
That's a
like
great
God
statement.
showed me that
It
a
is.
while ago, and it's like, think about it. It's an intimate act. It's the one flesh. The Bible describes it, the one flesh, the bonding. It's a spiritual, supernatural thing in the faith-based Christian world.
See,
and
that's-
I see. I
ask her
have
that
all
question.
this
That's a
training,
great lead
but
in.
I have all of this from my Christian side. 'cause
Okay.
That's
No,
my
but
specialty.
You guys just about ready?
She's a Christian counselor.
'Cause
But can
it-
I say that on?
Yes,
Sure.
yes. You can say anything but the F word.
Okay.
All right, stand by.
Keep this. Keep fired up.
Because that statement of,
What did I just say?
He looks at me as his enabler, codependent.
Okay, here's what you said.
What-
You
okay.
said-
I'm sorry. I'm just
Don't
nervous
tell
when
me
I
what
when I
to
get.
you
say.
said that
when I
from I'm going to use biblical perspective
Okay.
versus
Yeah. I
Christian
get nervous. I
perspective.
kind
What
of
works
forget.
for me?
Biblical perspective is God designed this thing.
Yes,
as
right. Not
one
watching
man,
other people
not
have
to watch
sex.
other people.
Yes,
I think
that's
it's
right.
so cool.
Isn't that cool? I know God showed me that
powerful.
a while ago, and I just thought that was so powerful
Terry's
too.
willing to
I've
speak
never
for
heard anybody
addicts.
say that.
But he's willing to be the voice of the addict. I'm always the voice of the codependent and how we will.
And I'm the voice of the woman.
Right.
We're living with the
and he's
addicts.
willing to sit there and
Okay,
volley
okay.
with you.
So I can do this.
And he's
Okay.
willing to argue it out with you. Things you.
So we
the
can
woman
argue it out
can-
on-
That's what
okay,
every woman wants
okay.
to say to her sex addict but can't.
Okay. Okay.
You know?
Okay. I got it.
And I
Keep
might just
that
say
into
that. I
that.
might say, okay, I'm the guy.
Right. Help
I'm
her
your
set her
hubby.
up.
So
Okay.
what would you say to me?
Right.
You ready now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Count.
So we'll go someplace with
Okay,
it.
ready?
And welcome back to Recovery Talk Live. You're here with Don Maxwell.
Terry Liddell.
And welcome to our recovery show where we try to destigmatize everyone, let everybody know they're hurting, but they're okay.
Are you calmed down a little bit now?
I'm calmed down. You know, the sex shows always get to me. We're talking about men who are in a sexual addiction, and today we're focusing on women. We have Pamela Conti with us today. She's a Christian coach and a life coach who works with women who are in or have been in relationships with men who are sexual addicts. And before we went to the break, you two were having a very too polite conversation on you saying, hey, it's okay for me to look at porn and bring it in the bedroom, and her saying, I don't think so. So, Pamela, is it okay for people to watch people having sex and bring it into the bedroom?
In the faith-based world and the Christian world, it's defined as no. I don't believe that we are created to watch other people have intimate sexual acts. It's supposed to be in the confines of marriage, which we're discussing about, only between the couple. And if the wife is not okay with that, and if she's not a Christian, then it should be respected.
Well, that's okay. So if I hear you correctly, me watching porn, being the male here, and the guy that you guys are going to go after here shortly, I'm
Yes.
sure.
On Recovery Talk
me watching porn, and then saying to you, "Hey, I just want to try something. Put on this, or let's try that, or because if you love me, and I love you, of course. Why isn't that okay?" And your answer is,
Well, that would be okay if you wanted to put on something beautiful, sexy for you. That's okay. Everything is okay in the bounds of marriage if it's okay with the wife, if she feels comfortable, because you don't want to humiliate your wife. You want her to feel sexy and beautiful in her natural way of being with you and giving herself to you that way. However, you watching porn is the problem that I have, and you thinking that that's okay in your marriage.
There you go, girl.
When God did not design us to watch other people have sex. We live in such a sexualized, progressive society right now where we're watching sex acts. Our children are watching sex acts on TV, and it's okay, and it's not okay as defined in the faith-based church world.
So let's just go. I'm just going to, this is Dawn on recoverytalklive.com with Dawn and Terry. So I'm going to set up a hypothetical, okay? Just role play with me here, people.
Okay.
This is on-air counseling on recoverytalklive.com, airing live on KFNX today. Let's just pretend, Pamela, you're married to Terry. You walk in the room and you find him doing whatever it is men do when they're watching porn, and you don't have to describe it to me. I'm sure every woman who lives with it knows what it looks like, and the man knows what they're doing. We don't need to get too graphic. You're hurt, you're mad, you're feeling devalued, and he's like, let's try this out. So then he doesn't, you don't want to, so then he starts stepping out. Maybe he's going, to hookers. I don't know what the next step is. I know there's a progression. How are you feeling as a woman? How are you trying to communicate to him, you're tearing me down, or are you not able to communicate that? If you were married to Terry, what would you say to him? If speaking on behalf of the codependent women in the relationships? What are you saying?
Well,
what do you want to say to him?
It first off, it just breaks my heart and it makes me sad because it really is catching your husband, and it feels like that to me personally when it happened to me, because it did happen to me and to the women that I've helped. It is the mistress of the marriage.
Ooh.
Pornography is the mistress of the marriage. People say it doesn't hurt anyone, but it affects the woman who disagree with it on every level, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. It is literally like finding your husband with another woman. He's lusting after her. He's being intimate in his heart and his mind with that picture or that image or whatever it is that he's into, because people are into different things. And it really just brings me back when I think about it, true, because it has happened to me, of just that sadness.
So do you feel like that you don't matter? Is it something as separation between you?
You feel like something's wrong with you. Why does he look at that when he has me? Yeah, you feel betrayed. It's dishonoring to the wife. It really is dishonoring, and it breaks the marriage vows. God says it breaks the marriage vows in the faith-based marriages.
Doesn't it break it in a regular marriage too? I mean, whether you're faith-based or not, is your value going down the toilet at this point?
Well, usually when you get married, you're saying you're going to forsake all others and just have the two of you. Well, forsaking all others is pornography and looking at other people having sex and lust and whatever is going on pornography and those websites is not forsaking all others in your heart and your mind. It's not physically only forsaking other women. It's forsaking other women with your heart and your mind. You don't get attached to that. And pornography is addictive and progressive behavior.
Well, okay, what if it's not pornography? What if it's just I look at other women and it's the way I look at them is bothers you.
Lustfully, Terry?
Yeah.
Are you saying lustfully?
Well, it's I don't know, because we go back to opinions, and I can rationalize. Now I'm going to do some rationalization here,
All right.
just hang
You're
in
on
there.
Recovery Talk Live.
But I'm going along and I go, wow, she's cute.
In front of your wife? Do you say that in front of your wife?
What if I did? Is that a bad thing?
I don't know where you'd be living tomorrow, Terry, if you said that in front of me. You know, probably not in my house if I were your wife.
Well, I'm probably not married to you either.
I'm sure you're not.
And Peggy doesn't like it either.
Yeah, I know
but
Peggy.
The question,
I highly doubt
question
she
really
likes it.
becomes is, what's wrong with saying, wow, she's cute? What's, because what you're talking about to me is the situation in which boundaries.
And no, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with saying that. All I'm saying is you are stupid to say that. Truthfully, if anybody I was dating or married to said that to me, I would. What if your wife said that to you? Oh, look at him, he's hot. How would you feel?
How would I feel?
Yes.
That's a different question. I don't really care. The
okay,
process,
well, you don't care, but
yeah.
believe me, every woman listening to this right now, if their husband said, oh, look at her, she's cute, really what he is saying to his wife is she's hot.
Uh-huh.
And that makes that woman say to herself, well, gee, I guess I'm not hot. It's her.
Okay.
And that's wrong. That's
So
just
you're talking
wrong on all levels.
So what we're really speaking about is, and I'm going to use the term, the message that's going across from male to female, from husband to wife, wife to husband. The message that's going across isn't a one that is building into the marriage or building into the relationship. It's tearing it down.
Right. That's dividing the oneness that you want with your wife. You want to be able to trust that person you're married to should be your best friend, that soft place to fall. You confide in, they have your back, you support each other. But if he's out lusting after other women on whatever level, and he's detaching from the wife and he's bringing all these other things into the marriage.
Well, let me ask you, as a male question, okay? How do I know that you are present with me?
Women are emotionally present with
Yeah,
men usually.
but I'm going to say this, and this may set off a whole bunch of things, but there's a scene in When Harry Met Sally.
Good movie.
Great movie, in which while eating a salad.
Oh, yes. I remember that scene.
Okay. And it's like, so how do I know if you're even present with me?
Well, I don't know. I can't answer that question except for the fact that you have to know your wife. And usually if you've been married for a few years, you would know at some level. Women are emotionally driven.
Yes,
Men are
they are.
visually driven. Men are visually stimulated. Women are different with sex than men. We view it differently. We have different opinions about it. We feel differently about how it works in our lives and our marriages. So obviously that would be between the two of you on how to deal with those kind of things. So
And
the
you're listening
process,
to Recovery Talk Live here at recoverytalklive.com.
so the process is you're talking about talking. If I hear what you said, the more that you, your husband, the more of you that are together, both emotionally, physically, and spiritually in the process.
Okay, so
'Cause-
we have to go to break in a minute.
Okay.
1 minute, and we really need to get into what's happening here, because you're saying it's okay. You're trying to justify.
No, I'm
men
not. I'm asking questions.
and wanting to know, but really we don't care. We want to know what happens to the women. So when we get back, let's talk about the trauma. We're here with Pamela Conti Andrasic, life coach, and let's go into the trauma that a woman suffers when she gets back. I want to know the emotional feelings, what she's thinking physically, mentally, the anguish. I want to hear about the anguish. The listeners, right now we're in an audience where a lot of women are driving home, picking up their kids en their route. We need to identify what the trauma they're feeling, because now a lot of women, Terry, and are going into trauma therapy after being married to somebody. So Pamela, if you can help us when we get back, at the end of the day, what is that woman feeling like? Raw, dirty, used, whatever those places are, the shame, and what it looks like for them to get well. And we're going to go to that place. And Terry, you need to let her go there, because this has to be addressed. I understand.
Okay.
We understand
No,
what you're
I think it's a
saying,
great
but-
idea. I think it's, in fact, I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, so join us after the break on Recovery Talk with Don and Terry. Visit us at recoverytalk.com.
This does back here.
recoverytalklive.com. Be back after the break. It's with me today. Can you put a sign up? I don't know the name of our show. After 3 years.
This one right here.
Thank you.
just look
We're
over
here
there.
on
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at it.
recoverytalklive.com.
We're getting,
Wow.
this is kind of fun. We're kind of getting deeper into the pool.
Yeah, but you know what? I kept visualizing, and we're going at a slower pace than we usually do. It's because it's usually he and I arguing. As I just keep visualizing these women driving around in the cars, listening to this, going,
Oh my gosh,
"It's
you're
me,
talking
it's
about
me."
me.
Because I've been talking
I'm
to
going to be
someone
quiet.
this week who
Seriously,
didn't
I think
even
you
know what it
guys need
was.
to go talk about the stuff
Normally,
a lot better.
this would have been our last segment.
I know we have
Right?
one, and
But
usually it's our
I don't think
wrap-up
there's any way you
segment.
can't
We're
keep
not
going,
ready to wrap.
because
We're going to have to
you're-
just
you weren't
finish.
done.
No, we're not
Yeah.
done.
So here's my recommendation. This is actually, I didn't know this. The fourth segment's actually a 12-minute segment.
I said
It's actually 2 minutes
Okay.
longer.
Well, he's always telling me wrap up in the fourth, but I feel like we need to do some finishing.
Right.
So how was it?
It's awesome. It's awesome. This is
Get
great.
fiery like you are on the break.
So let me
This is your
recommend.
12
Don't be
minutes of
nice.
voice
I
for
know,
the
I'm
woman. Don't be
nice.
nice. She's so
Don't be
nice.
nice.
So Don, here's what I'm going to do.
Not everybody does
I'm
camera.
going to give you guys a 4-minute warning.
Okay.
The reason I'm going to give you a 4-minute warning is because you need to be wrapped up with Pamela in 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes.
So
And
your
then Terry and I will
last 2 minutes
close.
is the show wrap up.
Okay.
Where you guys summarize.
We're
this.
changing our segment. Okay.
Okay, we're doing it. We're not doing it. We're doing it not the way you're supposed to do it, which is totally cool because I think
Yeah.
the top. We're not done.
No, you have more to say, and you have to get excited and mad and whatever it takes for you. Think about your clients you're sitting with.
Yeah,
Think
be
about
mad at
your
me.
own experience.
I know sometimes it's hard for me not to be
No,
my professional.
he's
nice.
setting himself up.
Be unprofessional.
That's because we're used to. Well, that's because we're used to being in a closed
you
room
know,
with a client, not
yeah.
on a camera. Not
yeah,
everybody's
when
like
I
us.
when I realize I'm
used
on
to
the
being-
air, it's you
See,
feel.
I put up with her, so I'm used to being unprofessional most of the time.
And I drag him everywhere, all the
So
time.
just go at it.
Yeah.
Because your message is huge.
These women are hurting
It's
women.
huge,
They are
yeah.
The
lonely.
message- so
These
I'm going to
women
be,
in
I'm going to
these
be like really.
marriages
I'm
are
not going
like-
to get into this next piece because
Yeah.
I think for you guys,
Yeah,
I'll
because
wander in
yeah.
and out. But I'm
Okay, but you set the foundation. I liked when you said,
Yeah,
you
'cause
know, but
women
I'm
are
coming
hearing that
home
because
and I
that's
want-
happening in houses.
Yeah.
It's happening in marriages,
And the woman's
no
thinking,
doubt.
well, he wants sex. I'm not in the
Okay,
mood.
so let me make a quick suggestion here. Okay, so kind of maybe where we haven't quite gone is what you just said, is the trauma. So if I might make a suggestion, let's spend like the first 4 minutes really focusing on the
Trauma.
okay? Then you need to flip it, right? Then you need to say what
Flip it for
we-
help.
what we can do about this.
So
What
I'll
are the
spend a couple
resources?
minutes on
Where do you-
trauma,
yeah.
then we'll go into tools and
Yeah,
recovery.
where do you fit into this, Pamela?
and then you can bring all your stuff and the stuff you've learned along the way and
Yeah,
what's worked for you guys.
bring in all
and
your
stuff.
expertise, what you tell
Yeah,
women, how you
that's-
come out
I
of
think That's
it.
a great idea.
So
Okay, so
2 minutes on
so when I
trauma.
start going like this or like this, that means turn it around.
Okay,
Okay, so start by.
we're going to work on the
Talking
trauma.
about the trauma, what it's doing,
And then we'll go
when
into
I start
resolution.
Going like this, Now I'm going to give you that 4-minute warning, which is 2 minutes to wrap up.
I'm gonna make
And
a
Terry
suggestion.
and I do the last two.
Pamela, I'm gonna make a suggestion to you. Write down 2 or 3 things.
Because I know, I'm like, have all these things. I'm like,
Close your notes up.
spinning in my head.
Close your notes up. There's a clean piece of paper. Write a couple, 3 things that popped in your head, and make sure those get covered.
It's
That's
okay.
all you
I
need
mean,
to
and
do.
really,
For,
you know,
for help, for the helping
Right.
the woman.
and
What
the
are we gonna
trauma. What things you like to teach women about trauma? Because we're going to
So-
do that
So
for
we're gonna talk about
3 minutes.
the stuff, the pain stuff, but then what can you do to
What
make
I
it
tell them to
different?
help them, right?
Yeah, okay, and just stick with those 3, because those are, a couple things will pop into your head. But when you
Uh-huh,
try
oh,
to,
yeah.
when you try to digest all your notes, you get
I
landlocked.
know, and then it makes, I start shaking.
Yeah, so,
You know what?
it's not, here's the thing about this, what you're doing here,
Oh,
yeah,
oh.
exactly. What you're doing here is, you're outside your comfort zone.
She's so
Yes,
Okay,
yes, I'm
so-
better one-on-one with the woman.
Yeah, so then, you're gonna talk to Dawn. Like I said, I'm just gonna wander in and out a little bit.
Yeah,
This
because
is-
because the women who I talk to are just eating up what I'm saying and haven't heard it before and are feeling heard and
Yeah.
valued and validated.
Now, what's interesting is I do a lot of this work with women too.
You do?
Yeah. Because I did the
And
other
do you,
side.
so you know how they
So I
feel.
get all this. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I do a lot of trauma work.
But we do some adversary stuff to keep the
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, you got to keep it lively.
And just really, in all seriousness, not everybody talks about recovery on camera like we do.
No.
So it's normal to you.
Yeah, I mean,
to
this is my first time
Yeah.
on the camera
So pick out
with the,
three things.
So-
Don't worry about it, and that you think that are necessary. And then what do you tell people?
It will be this will be necessary,
Yeah. And then
or
say-
else it won't work. Their marriage.
So what you're saying is, we're not necessarily trying to fix a marriage here as much as we're trying to fix a people. So that, because the marriage will
Yeah.
get fixed separate to this. We're not trying to fix marriages, we're trying to fix people. So you're giving
Right,
tools.
people,
you're
healing the
giving-
people to
Yeah.
be and deal with things in healthy ways instead of non-healthy ways.
Exactly. So
Right.
that's kind of what you, does that help? I mean, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, this
yeah,
is
right.
good
Because we
because
have
she
to
doesn't
offer
have
hope.
12 weeks
Yeah.
to work with somebody.
Exactly.
Because you know
She's got-
we have to put it out there, and then they're going to identify with it, and then we
And
have
do a
to
little-
send them way to where
Yeah.
they can get some help, take their next steps.
Do a little commercial for her
Okay.
somewhere